time. Call this.
You guys, everyone wants me to cry today. No way.
Have you ever seen a basketball star shed tears over someone else's success? Well, AjaWilson just did. The WNBA champion was in tears, but not for the reason you might think. Her tears were sparked by Caitlin Clark's announcement that her jersey would be retired. Wilson admitted, "I was in tears, y'all." You might be wondering, what's the big deal? Don't players get their jerseys retired all the time? Well, not like this. Clark's retirement ceremony is already breaking records, and it hasn't even happened yet. Wilson's fans are claiming foul play, accusing Iowa of deliberately timing this to steal the spotlight. But what spotlight? We doubt Iowa even knows when South Carolina was planning Wilson's ceremony, especially since she graduated nearly a decade ago. We've got the facts, the timeline, and fan reactions that paint a different picture. Let's dive into why Wilson's tears are flowing and how Clark is once again rewriting the playbook for women's basketball. February 2nd, 2025. Mark that date, because it's about to become legendary in women's basketball. 2 players, 2 jersey retirements, but only one star is outshining the other like a supernova. Caitlin Clark and AjaWilson, 2 game-changing players in their own right, are both set to have their jerseys retired on the same day. But here's where the similarities end. Clark's ceremony at Iowa is creating a frenzy that's completely overshadowing Wilson's South Carolina event.
Iowa taking on USC and Juju Watkins, nationally televised game, I believe. February 2nd, 2-2, so it's 22. Everything about it locked up.
Let's talk numbers, and trust me, they're mind-blowing. The cheapest ticket to see Caitlin Clark's jersey go up to the rafters? A staggering $711, making it the most expensive ticket in women's college basketball history. For comparison, that's even more costly than the cheapest ticket to an NBA Finals game. And if you're aiming for the best seats in the house? Brace yourself, they're going for over $8,000. Meanwhile, if you want to attend AjaWilson's ceremony, you can snag a seat for just $25. No, that's not a typo. The price difference between the two events is more than 28 times higher for Clark.
But that is a supply and demand thing, especially in today's day and age where there's no such thing as a sellout, right? Where you can go to any event you want as long as you're willing to pay for it because of the secondary ticket market.
Social media is blowing up with reactions, and this is about more than just ticket prices. It's a seismic shift in women's basketball. We're seeing demand at levels that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. Caitlin Clark's last home game set records with tickets going for $450, and now that seems like pocket change compared to her jersey retirement ceremony. What we're witnessing is Clark single-handedly reshaping the landscape of women's basketball. She's not just breaking records on the court, she's shattering expectations off it. Clark has become a cultural phenomenon, transcending the sport and attracting fans who might have never tuned into a women's basketball game before. But hold on tight, this story is far from over. What do Wilson and her camp have to say about all this?
One of the sentiments that was expressed was, "Oh, it's the same day as AjaWilson's. How could you do it?" First of all, I remember them announcing AjaWilson was getting her jersey retired, but I didn't remember the date or anything. I didn't, when the Clark news broke, I didn't think about AjaWilson. And again, as is the case with Caitlin Clark, this only is going to bring more attention to AjaWilson's jersey retirement.
As ticket prices for Caitlin Clark's retirement ceremony soared, another kind of inflation was brewing: online outrage. AjaWilson's fans aren't just upset, they're convinced there's a conspiracy at play. But what if the real story is even more surprising than they think? The social media storm kicked off with Wilson supporters crying foul over the timing of Clark's jersey retirement. One fan didn't hold back, tweeting, "Why would y'all retire her jersey on the same day as Aja? Are y'all stupid?" This sentiment spread quickly across platforms, with Wilson's fanbase feeling like their idol was being overshadowed by the Clark phenomenon. But here's where things take a twist. The timeline of these announcements reveals a different story. Iowa didn't just randomly decide to retire Clark's jersey. They made the announcement all the way back on April 11th, 2024, right after the NCAA championship game.
Yes, Clark did get a standing ovation when Iowa's athletics director announced that the university will retire her number 22
that
jersey.
That number holds a lot of weight, far beyond my name, and I guess I'm just really grateful, and it'll be a special day when that happens for sure. Thank you. It's been very special, and this place will always be home to me.
South Carolina didn't reveal their plans for Wilson's jersey retirement until October 2024, 6 months later. That's a significant gap, folks. Aja's fans argue they're not necessarily Clark fans, so why should they worry about the spotlight being stolen by Iowa's announcement? Why can't both players be celebrated on the same day?
First of all, there's nothing wrong with two schools retiring respective jerseys on the same day. But secondly, if you wanted the focus to be on AjaWilson, she'll probably get more attention as the second, most recognized jersey retirement of that day than she would have if she had the stage all to herself on that.
So why are AjaWilson's fans so convinced that Iowa is trying to steal South Carolina's thunder? It all comes down to the explosive rise of Clark's popularity. Iowa's athletic director, Beth Gatz, put it simply, Clark's achievements have left a lasting impact on both the university and women's basketball. They weren't reacting to Wilson's announcement. They were celebrating their own superstar. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Why did it take South Carolina so long to honor Wilson? One fan pointed out the obvious. Why did South Carolina take a whole decade to retire Aja's number? How is that Iowa's fault? It's a fair question. Wilson graduated in 2018, and it's taken until 2025 for her alma mater to retire her jersey. That's not on Iowa, that's on South Carolina.
South Carolina waited years and years to retire Aja's jersey.
Conspiracy theories are swirling, with some of Wilson's supporters convinced that Iowa deliberately chose the date to overshadow Aja's moment. But let's pause and think about it. Iowa picked a date that aligns with a high-profile game against USC featuring rising star Juju Watkins, which was already scheduled to be nationally televised. Plus, the jersey has been hanging in Carver Hawkeye Arena for months. Everyone knew it was coming. So, how could Iowa possibly know when Aja's jersey retirement would be? No one knew about it until Clark announced hers. This isn't about stealing anyone's spotlight, it's about maximizing exposure for women's basketball as a whole.
And then there was, Iowa is rushing this. They're rushing, or everything is rushed with Caitlin Clark. No, she just did things faster and garnered more attention and more notoriety and celebrity and celebration and popularity.
Here's the kicker. Some fans are actually calling for Wilson to change her date. One tweet read, "Tell Aja to move her date, then the face of the WNBA is retiring hers. Show some respect." It's a clear reminder of how quickly the landscape of women's basketball is evolving. So what's really going on here? Is this about disrespect, or is it about the changing of the guard in women's basketball? The facts don't support the conspiracy theories. Iowa's plans were set long before Wilson's announcement, and they're simply capitalizing on Clark's massive popularity. But here's the twist. There might be more to Aja's reaction than meets the eye. Is this really about a jersey retirement, or is it a sign of deeper jealousy? The answer might just surprise you.
They announced Caitlin Clark was getting her jersey retired last spring. It's not something that just sprung up on everybody. Thirdly, of course they're going to do it in a high-profile game that a lot of people are going to see that happens to match up with the numerology.
You might assume that AjaWilson's accomplished career would protect her from feeling threatened, but her recent behavior suggests a surprising vulnerability. So what's really behind the WNBA veteran's unexpected reaction to Caitlin Clark's rise? Wilson's emotional response to the news of Clark's jersey retirement has turned heads across the basketball world. While she hasn't directly called out Clark, her social media activity speaks volumes. Fans have noticed Wilson's tearful reactions, interpreting them as a sign that she feels overshadowed by Clark's meteoric rise.
There's so long before Caitlin Clark plays another basketball game, yet she can still dominate some of this discussion and still is on people's minds.
Let's break down the numbers. AjaWilson's WNBA resume is nothing short of impressive. A 3-time SEC Player of the Year, a national championship with South Carolina, and 2,389 points as the Gamecocks' all-time leading scorer. But Caitlin Clark? She's completely rewritten the record books. The list of her accolades is so long, we'll just let this video explain it. Roll the footage. This stark contrast highlights a fascinating shift in women's basketball. Clark's electrifying style is reshaping fan expectations in women's sports, and the unprecedented media attention and fan engagement surrounding her have created a new paradigm, one that established stars like Wilson are now navigating. Wilson's reactions to Clark's achievements haven't gone unnoticed by fans. Some worry that her emotional responses might alienate potential supporters. One fan commented, "Wilson's tears seem more about her own insecurities than celebrating the sport's growth." It's a delicate balance, maintaining relevance in a rapidly changing landscape while also preserving her own legacy.
But with everybody else, especially those who claim they don't like Caitlin Clark or she's getting too much attention, they sure seem to be the first to comment on anything that's going on.
Here's the twist. AjaWilson's success might actually be working against her. Her years of dominance and accolades have become a double-edged sword. While Clark brings fresh energy and attracts new fans to women's basketball, Wilson finds herself in an unexpected position. Wilson's journey represents the traditional path to stardom, while Clark embodies a new era of instant, wide-reaching impact. Let's be clear, Clark has earned all of this due to the way she plays the game and her influence on and off the court. It's not just about their jersey retirements anymore. It's about the changing face of women's sports. So, what does this mean for the future of women's basketball? As Clark's influence continues to grow, how will the sport adapt to balance respect for its established stars with the excitement of new talent? The answer to this question could redefine women's basketball for years to come. What exactly is the Clark effect? And why are brands suddenly viewing women's basketball through an entirely new lens? Caitlin Clark didn't just break records. She shattered expectations and rewrote the marketing playbook for women's sports. Her impact on basketball has been revolutionary, forcing brands and media outlets to rethink their approach to women's athletics. The numbers tell a staggering story. When Iowa announced Clark's jersey retirement on social media, the post exploded with over 300,000 impressions in just 2 hours. A 1-minute workout video racked up 2 million views in a day. That's the kind of engagement most WNBA teams can only dream of for an entire season. But Clark's influence doesn't stop at the final buzzer. It's reshaping how we think about women's sports as a whole.
Came to college as a basketball prodigy, but no one thought she would be this good, because no one ever had been before.
It's Caitlin Clark's world, and we're all just living in it.
Media coverage of women's college basketball has reached unprecedented levels, all thanks to Caitlin Clark. Remember when women's games were confined to obscure cable channels? Those days are long gone. Now, major networks are vying for the rights to broadcast Clark's games, knowing they'll attract massive audiences. And it's not just sports channels. Clark has become a regular feature on mainstream news and talk shows. But here's where it gets really interesting. Clark's influence is spilling over into other sports entirely. Take the LPGA, for example. They've smartly capitalized on her popularity by featuring her in golf events. This crossover appeal is opening up new marketing avenues for women's sports, avenues that were previously unthinkable.
However, Caitlin Clark's true impact has been best seen by the faces in the crowd. The memories she was making, game after game, for lifelong Iowa fans, and plenty of brand new ones. She became an event. Sellout crowds for every single home game. Record crowds for most road games. Almost single-handedly, she brought along millions of viewers as she broke the record for the most watched women's basketball game for 7 different TV networks.
The long-term implications for the WNBA could be game-changing. Caitlin Clark has already sparked a huge surge in viewership and revenue in her rookie season. But the question is the WNBA ready to capitalize on this momentum? They're sitting on a potential goldmine, but tapping into it will require a major shift in their marketing strategy.
The greatest women's player there ever was? Maybe it's debatable, but at the very least, she'll be in that debate forever. Her now famous Hawkeye jersey was 2 twos, but she was 1 of 1.
Caitlin Clark is single-handedly elevating the entire sport. She's not just a basketball player, she's become a cultural icon, inspiring young athletes and drawing attention to women's sports like never before. The Clark effect is real, and it's forcing everyone from team owners to sponsors to rethink the potential of women's basketball. But here's the million-dollar question. Can the WNBA seize this opportunity? They've got the hottest property in sports, and the league stands at a crossroads. Their next moves could define the future of women's professional basketball. Will they rise to the challenge, or let this once-in-a-generation opportunity slip through their fingers?
Now that her college career is over, it turns out there's nothing Caitlin Clark can't do!
Caitlin Clark's jersey retirement isn't just a ceremony, it's a symbol of a new era in women's basketball. This moment marks a turning point where the sport is finally receiving the recognition and excitement it deserves. Clark has done more than break records. She's shattered barriers and redefined expectations. As Beth Gatz, Iowa's athletic director, put it, Caitlin Clark has not only redefined excellence on the court, but also inspired countless young athletes to chase their dreams with passion and determination. This inspiration is exactly what women's basketball needs to continue growing.